Hello, good evening, all. Today in advertising, we are going to study Module 3, that is Economic and Social Aspect of Advertising. In this particular module, we are going to see how advertising can have its own good and bad points or bad influence on society and good and in fact only good effect or impact on the economy of the country. So to start with, let us see what are the different components of this particular unit or module. One is effect of advertising on consumer demand, monopoly, competition, and price. So there are, under the economic aspect, we are going to study the impact of advertising on consumer demand, monopoly, and competition and price. Whereas under the social issue, we will see ethical and social issues in advertising, positive and negative influence of advertising on Indian values and culture. And finally, we will also see what is certain special advertising like pro bono, social advertising by Indian government to the DAVP and the self-regulatory bodies of ASCI. So to start with, let us see the effect of advertising on consumer demand. First of all, let us understand how advertising is affecting the demands in the market goods which are like primary in nature and selective in nature. Primary goods are those goods which are of generic value, which are of utmost importance, and selective goods are goods which are not used by everyone but has a selective audience for itself, has a selective target, or maybe luxurious commodities, etc. So when there is advertising immediately increases or may not be impacting much where primary goods are concerned. Like if we don't do advertising, still primary goods will be having demand in the market because they're absolute necessities. But where selective demand is concerned, in that case you need to do awareness campaigning, build attitude, and only then can you have a higher sale. So ad creates primary and selective demand both, but yes, more for selective and less for primary because primary are absolute essentials. But because of competition, you can say generic demand is also generated through advertising. A second point evolves around evolving experience. So when we say effect of advertising on consumer demand, we are also talking about inducing people or trying to persuade those who are not users or not buyers of my product into buying the product. So a whole new target audience can be created with it. We are also talking about social media and demand. Social media today is the very in thing when it comes to all forms of business. So when I say advertising in social media, it is definitely creating a higher demand with a very interactive experience where the influencers speak to you, meets you, distribute certain goods or gifts with the target audience. So the experience between the ad audience and the marketers has become better and essentially helpful. Professional advertising. Professionals help in recommending the products that creates demand. Professional helps um, to create demand for those goods which the professional is recommending. For example, when you go to a doctor, the doctor prescribes medicine. You cannot select the medicine of your choice, okay? So you have to be very much clear about when it is professional advertising demanding the goods according to what the professionals say. So what type of advertising do we do here? We have MRs visiting the doctors, giving them certain incentives, etc. So that type of an advertising is called as professional advertising. Now when we talk about creativity in advertising and demand, remember a creative ad creates the top of mind awareness that definitely is important to generate higher demand for the product. So if there is a creative ad, it is more what you would like to purchase the product from, and you would like to use that product. And continuously when you do that, the generating brand loyalty becomes easy. Similarly, when you have advertising, the impact of advertising is felt where you can fight competitors better and enhance or increase the demand of your goods. So, ad stimulates more of competition, and more is the competition that improves quality and creates demand. Now, let us come to now because we spoke about competition, let us see both aspects. How advertising is generating monopoly, which is not good, and also competition. Let us first understand what's monopoly. Monopoly is a market where you have a single seller and many buyers, which is definitely not a very good situation or a perfect market situation, because then the seller can influence or can make you buy a bad product or charge you an unreasonable price for this, because he knows he doesn't have a competition. Okay, but where there is competition, you get quality and you get better price and better brands available. So critics of advertising say that with big advertisers, people who have huge amount of money doing well good business, they give a tough competition to the small scale advertisers. So new businesses or people who don't have much of money, they can't do a very huge form of advertising, so they don't earn a very high demand. Because of less demand, you will observe that they don't earn economies of large scale, so the profit margin for these small scale advertisers is also less. Whereas big advertisers continuously keep on engaging in advertising, spending more money, especially in television advertising, which is an expensive media. And because of the same, they generate higher demand. Higher is the demand, they start economies, earning economies of large scale, more profit margin, higher is the profit. So it's like a vicious circle which keeps going. So critics also speak that these advertisers create an entry barrier. Now see, when you are earning economies of large scale, doesn't mean actually blocking someone from entering the market, but virtually when you have economies of large scale and you have your price very low, a new entrant cannot earn these economies of large scale, so he cannot enter the market with such a low price, so he has to keep a high price and no one goes for his product. So it is like a virtual barrier which is created to these new forms. Advertising also, we say big advertisers charge monopolistic prices, because you know you're the king of the market. Okay, and with every dose of advertising that you are having in the market, you're going to enhance demand, and demand is increasing, so you can charge or recover your huge advertising expenses from your consumers. So sometimes a very unreasonable price is being charged. These were critics of advertising. Now, coming to supporters of advertising, ads promote competition. Lot of advertising done can promote more competition in the market, due to which we say that more and more entrants in the market, more brands are available, higher is the brand's availability, you will observe that there are more people or more takers for who are giving competition to the existing brand. So every existing brand tries to excel in their own way. Small brands also gain that power through creative advertising. Though we have said that small businesses might find it difficult, they may not have money to spend in a television advertising, but a very creative outdoor advertising, a very creative social media advertising can definitely give big brands a go for their money or a run for their money. So, advertising can make a huge difference to even these small brands. Finally, coming to the supporter's vision, effective advertising can bring marketing success to new entrants. For example, if you see Vivo mobiles were very new, and after the sponsorship given to IPL, Vivo just became the the in word in the entire Indian market. So marketing success of some new brands are because of good and effective advertising. Though they were sponsoring, if there would not have been a lot of awareness generation, then creating or selling or making a marketing success for Vivo would have been definitely difficult. So these were the critics' point of view and the supporters' point of view for advertising. That's all from me. Thank you. Good evening, all. Continuing to what we already started in the previous lecture of ours, would just like to revise with you. We started with the third module, that is economic and social aspect of advertising, wherein we have already checked onto certain aspects which economically are trying to have an impact of advertising, and just would like to revise with you what we have already covered. We had seen how, because of advertising, the demand for primary and selective goods can differ or makes a difference. And because advertising makes a new experience altogether for the new users, those of the consumers who are not buying the product might be interested. Same way, social media also advertising helps us to generate new demand, because it's a very interactive medium where consumers can inquire, have certain queries answered, and then generate a potential demand into an actual demand. Same way, professional advertising is doing very well. A lot of professionals are gaining to create high demand because of advertising. So, when we say professional advertising, we are not only looking at the various conventional medias, but even printing a visiting card or putting a nice signboard on top of a professional's outlet could also be termed as a professional advertising. And definitely, creativity in advertising generates a higher demand. So, advertising helps fight competition, and that's how higher demand is generated. We also checked on the critics' point of view and the supporters' point of view for where monopoly is concerned. So, where the critics are concerned, they believe that advertising is generating a higher monopoly, and monopoly being a single seller in many buyers is a very disadvantaged type of a market scenario that we could have. That's how advertising helps those big advertisers, and definitely is bad on, because of a lot of money involved in advertising does not do good to small enterprises or small businesses. But supporters of advertising do claim that even small brands are entering into the markets, giving a big brands a run for their money. It's also promoting a lot of competition, and effective advertising is bringing a lot of marketing success for the brand like we. Now, taking you ahead with which we already discussed is the third element under the economic aspect, that is effect of advertising on price. How does advertising influence the price? Now, normally, if you ask a layman, they believe that advertising is expensive and the advertiser is going to recover this money from the consumer, so he charges us a higher price. But that is not always true. It is not always that advertising is going to be recovered from consumers and it's going to escalate the price. No, I'm sorry. Advertising has an indirect impact on three areas. So one is production cost, the other is the distribution cost, and together they become the cost component. Okay, and out of all this, when we add these two things, what we get is the consumer price. So in short, we need to study three effects of advertising on the price. First, let us see how the production cost can be affected with advertising. When you incur an advertising expenditure, let me explain this with an example. Before advertising, the demand for a particular commodity is, say, 100 units. Post advertising, a very hypothetical situation, we'll have to make some assumptions when we have to prove something. We assume that the demand increases with the successful advertising to 200 units. Now, in order to manufacture these 200 units, the requirement of raw materials will be higher than what it was for 100 units. But the cost of raw material should not double. That is why we say we are earning economies of large scale. For example, if cloth was, say, 100 rupees meter, when I wanted to buy 100 meters of cloth, I will not pay 100 rupees meter if I'm going to buy 200 meters of cloth. I'll definitely bargain or deal and I am going to bring down the amount. So I may bring it to 60 or I may bring it to 70 rupees per meter. So accordingly, the cost of raw materials come down. What else is included in the cost of production is the labor cost. Now, because your demand has increased always doesn't imply you're going to hire new staff. So, workman's salary is not going to increase double, but yes, you may have to pay some amount of, say, overtime or additional incentives to the workers so that higher production can be achieved. And similarly, the use of machines that are being used nowadays. You will not buy another entire set of machinery just because your production has increased. Probably your machines are not being utilized in full capacity. So, what you will do is you will utilize in full capacity and may utilize it a little more. So, the cost of power may not double, it is just an incremented value. That means my number of units are doubling, but all the costs are not doubling. So when I divide in order to get the per unit cost of production, I definitely come to a lower amount than what I was paying for the cost price or the per unit before advertising. Now, because of these economies of large scale, and if the advertiser wants to pass these economies to the consumer, he will definitely bring down the cost of the goods. And remember, not only in India, everywhere in the world, bringing down the cost price of the goods does help you to generate again higher demand. So it's like, going in and out and round and round and round. Again, you want economies of large scale, pass it to the consumer, and your price comes down. So this was impact on cost of production. So cost of production comes down, keeping your profit margin the same. You can bring down the consumer price. The second aspect is how directly can we impact distribution cost. Now, because why are we saying distribution cost is directly impacted? Because distribution cost is made up of advertising expenditure, selling and distribution cost, etc., transportation cost, etc. Now, in order to have, when you advertise, earlier before advertising, you had zero cost incurred. But when you start advertising and your demand increases from 100 to 100 to 200 units, you are going to incur some amount of advertising expenditure, okay, which was not there earlier. But again, like the earlier example, your transportation cost may not double actually. Again, there also you try to get certain economies of large scale. Plus the commission that you pay to your salesman, which is also a part of your distribution cost, you will not give him double. You will increase the percentage, say by 5% or 10% or 20%. So, in short, our demand, which was 100 units, has doubled to 200 post advertising. We incurred an advertising expenditure, we incurred a higher transportation expenditure, but it did not double from what I had earlier. Salesman's incentives also did not double. So on the whole, if you try to see, the per unit cost of distribution will not be higher than what you had sold. It may either be at break even to what you had been selling earlier, or it will be lesser, because again, you are earning economies of large scale and demand has increased. Thus, cost of production per unit is coming down, okay. And if the advertiser is passing the benefit to the consumers are going to get the product at a cheaper rate. But only this, you have to remember that the final price of the product will be impacted only when you start getting economies of large scale. Otherwise, you cannot earn it. It has to be passed to the consumer. Otherwise, you will not feel the impact on the market. Consumers have to be made happy. And thus, if you ask me what is the impact on the consumer price, definitely the price can come down. Even if you do not change the profit margin, the price can come down. Maybe earlier your cost price was 200 rupees, and post advertising it comes down to 150 rupees per unit. cost of distribution was 200 and you brought it down to again 150, so it becomes 300 cost of production and distribution, and you add 50 rupees to it. So earlier you were selling at 450, now probably you will sell it at 350. So that's how there is a very positive impact on the pricing of products because of advertising. If you have any queries, you can write in the description box below or comment on the video. I have taken all the written matter from Manan Prakashan's publication, which he had made during the pandemic. I used it to create my PPT. My explanations are my own. Coming to our next subtopic is the ethical issue that is used in advertising. Let's understand what is ethics. Ethics is distinguishing between the right and wrong. Now, advertising includes certain good and bad aspects. We need to understand that. Advertising is directly playing with the psyche of the consumer. So sometimes certain certain things in order to initiate a higher demand is undertaken by the advertiser, which may not be ethical. Certain ethical issues experienced are: one is pressure tactics. Sometimes you have these offers like, till this is the last date of the offer, get 25% off, or get one and buy three free, till say the 10th of the next month, and even on the 11th and 12th you find an offer there and you just rushed out to take those purchases or the offer. These are pressure tactics so that the sales increases. There was actually not a proper offer, they just wanted to sell their products. Second is poor taste. Sometimes advertising that are being used are very vulgar or has content which you say double meaning, or which has a certain hidden agenda below it, which is again in poor taste, or showing women in a bad dressing sense, or flesh is being shown, is again called advertising in poor taste. You can't be this offensive because you can't forget India is still a conservative society. Exaggeration. Certain ads make very tall claims. When I say tall claims, trying to say that we are the number one sellers in the world, and maybe your neighboring country, like even Nepal or Bangladesh, has not heard of the brand. So making such claims is only to ditch consumers. Okay, so they are wrong and they are unethical. Erroneous impressions. Ads with incomplete information just tells you if you buy this product and you will not fall ill without stating conditions, or if you invest in mutual funds you will get so much of money, without stating that there is a hidden risk involved in mutual funds. So such information is just giving out half information, which is very dangerous. It could mislead because of such incomplete information. Next is ads to children. There are certain amount of ads which are made to the target audience of children, like ads of kurkure, ads of chocolates. Too much of eating of these things are very bad for the health of the children, but children prefer to have these things because the ads are very attractive. And therefore when you say advertising to children spoiling their health is unethical. You have to give a disclaimer saying this is healthy, then in that case if you think it's not bad for children. Certain ads also claim that they have won prestigious awards. Who is going to go and check them? No one does. These are false claims showing a lot of excellence in quality or excellence in sales, etc. So claiming these winning awards could be a really really bad, or these could not be used in advertising. Next is surrogate ads. There's a lot of backdoor ads that promote harmful products. So when I say surrogate advertising or backdoor ads that promote harmful products, it means you just making a brand name and introducing another new product which people are not aware of. But when they hear the brand name, they are aware of the product which is harmful or which is injurious to their health. For example, an ad of alcohol which says McDonald's number one, is a soda, whereas drunkard will only remember it to be a bottle of whiskey or a bottle of rum. Next, false statistics. When you give wrong data showing how superior you are, or trying to show how much of R&D is conducted and how well you've done worked on the product, but in reality you haven't, if proved wrong, this could be really dangerous for the company. So these are like making big claims and actually not having a proof for it. So this could be unethical. Coming to the next part of our module is social issues that we are facing in advertising. Now, just as we had studied under the economic issue, there's two parts of it. We have the critics' point of view in advertising and the supporters' point of view for advertising, where critics try to say advertising is bad. But see, we are studying, learning, and I think we all love advertising, so we are going to be the supporters of advertising. So let us see what critics have to say about the social issue, the impact on the society. Critics say that social advertising creates materialistic value among people. The more you see ads, the more things of luxury, the more things of convenience. We want to buy more, 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 and we want to have everything. So we become a lot more materialistic in life. And materialism is not good because it leads to poverty, it leads to financial crisis. It could also lead to spending more than what you earn. Another view of the critic is that it depicts acts of violence. Certain ads try to use a lot of these sounds, which is violent, or try to show things going wrong. A lot of fear is being created in people's mind, due to which some people who are mentally not very strong could be impacted because of this violence, or they could resort to certain things which is shown in the media. So again, we need to understand that violence should not be used in advertising. We just spoke about in our earlier subtopic the use of vulgarity, or use of a lot of double meaning words, etc. We should try avoiding vulgarity, nudity, because somewhere Indian consumers are still conservative and our society does not agree to these things. We may be very modern in our thinking or modern in our dressing. Somewhere we have to feel comfortable when I'm watching a TV, reading a newspaper, and with my family around. So again, removing vulgarity is important. If not, it is going to spread in society because people try to adapt and replicate what they see in advertising. Surrogate ads are not helping. So surrogate ads are trying to increase sales of goods which are harmful. So there was one point agenda to ban harmful products, but with surrogate advertising it's not happening, and harmful products are still being used and sold very heavily in the market. So this is the critics point of view of advertising, whereas supporters believe that because of advertising there's a lot of social awareness being created. Okay, like you take the shauchalaya ad, you take the anti-tobacco drive that you have, AIDS awareness drive that's being conducted. People did not know what these are and what's its harmful effect, and thanks to advertising that we came to know about it, and we take good precautions nowadays, we take care of our health, and so on. Women are depicted in a lot of positive roles. If you see an ad of Rin where a woman goes into a banking job from a very poor family or a low socioeconomic background, like father goes to drop the daughter in the bank and she becomes a banker. So women are depicted showing positive roles too. So that's one good thing which is influencing the Indian society, where a lot of suppression was there among the women. It also highlights traditions and customs of the country. So, eating together during, if you see ads during Independence Day on television or in the newspaper, tries to show how, though we belong to different religions, we are coming together, different caste, multilingualism, everyone coming together and celebrating so called India. So, highlighting our traditions and customs together is also done with advertising. Nowadays, if you see, because of this impact of advertising, even corporates are celebrating different days today, irrelevant of states that you belong to or religion that you belong to. And the last point is generates huge employment. Advertising impacts, say, production, impacts selling, distribution, impacts the media. So many new jobs are generated in a country which was poor like India, and unemployment was its major problem. Somewhere we've benefited because of advertising. So that was critics and how supporters, what supporters have to say of advertising. Now let us see how there is a positive influence of advertising on Indian values and culture. So economic effect, we have seen it reduces the consumer price. So where Indians are concerned, or for that matter any consumer is concerned, we are more than happy because of economies of large scale the consumer price is coming down. Secondly, we are saying that it promotes competition. Even a small businessman can enter, have advertising, gain a strong foothold in the market. And because of all this promotion, this competition takes up. And when you have competitors, you deliver quality. So, as a consumer, I'm happy to say that there is more competition in the market. Advertising is expanding business. People enhance higher demand, higher sales. From higher sales, higher profits. More profits you earn, more market share that you earn, and thus your business grows. Advertising also tries to have a higher economic growth rate for the country. Now we just learned that there is a lot of employment generation that's happening with advertising. Money is flowing into the economy, so there is a lot of increase in so the GDP automatically is going to increase, and that is going to lead to a higher national income. So these were the positive economic effects of advertising. Let us see social effects. Because of advertising, we are aware of different goods which could probably give us a very convenient lifestyle, better types of products, and a luxurious feel, so called a feel good feeling. Okay, so a higher standard of living can be enjoyed by all of us. Where there is awareness, there could be more demand generated and higher sales. Next is upgrade cultural values. There's a lot of dramatization of family ties happening. Eating together, family eating together, husband helping the wife for with kitchen duties or the children's duties, definitely is upgrading the cultural value of our society. Things are changing for the better. Promotes cultural harmony or communal harmony through social awareness campaign, where a red label tea is being shared by a Hindu Muslim neighbor ad, and how people help each other in dire. Even the LGBTQ community is being very well helped with advertising. So that's one good thing which is really happening socially. Next is it promotes social welfare. So through social awareness campaigns like concern for the girl child, the Shauchalaya ad, or say the pulse polio drive, eradication of certain problems could be very easily done. So social welfare is promoted through advertising. So that was positive social effect of advertising. Now let's see negative. If there is something positive, it has to be negative effect. We've already studied that how advertising is helping big businesses and small businesses find it difficult to survive. So it is generating monopoly, creating monopoly. If we do not earn economies of large scale with advertising, then it is going to escalate consumer price. Because if you remember how we impacted the cost of distribution, I always told you that earlier we didn't incur any expenditure, but when we start incurring a higher expenditure in advertising, and if demand increases, only then can you earn a lower price. Otherwise, it is going to escalate or increase the consumer price. Unproductive use of fund, sometimes incorrect budgeting of ad expenses, or many a times you'll find the ads fail. So there's a lot of burden on the company's finance funds and finances, due to which the company finds it difficult to survive. So a good planning is needed for advertising. We also say Advertising affects the economic well-being of the society. A lot of surrogate advertising is taking place. So promotion of harmful products or people buying, materialism is the in thing. People are just buying things and wasting, not using it. Such is a very bad thing that could happen in the society. So the well-being of the society could be affected with this type of a culture. Negatively, let's see how there's an influence on the society. It degrades the cultural value through vulgar ads. You try to show women in poor taste, you try to use language which is bad, and people pick up wrong things or bad things very easily. So, we need to understand that the social effect could be disastrous for the consumers. Materialistic value creating people would be only running behind money. There would be a lot of dissatisfaction because of materialism that is created because of that. People would like to have more and more and more, and the ambition would never come down. So a lot of mental issues could crop up due to the same. There could be lot of enmity between people, etc. It could also create social and racial discrimination because certain ads try to show fair skin is something which is important, and trying to show, some people as a different section of society is also going to create the divide more so, and it is going to impact on the society. Affects the social well-being of the society. Again, use of harmful products could be really dangerous, and people could really fall ill or get into bad company, or abuse of different materials could be harmful. All this is going to damage the health of Indians or health of the society. So on the whole, the human resource of the society might get affected. So negative aspects have to be really thought for. Next is called as the pro bono advertising. The word pro bono means for the good of the public. So when it is pro bono, it is a social advertising that we are talking about. Certain important features when we say it's a social advertising is, what is the purpose of pro bono? Basically, all social advertising aims to create social awareness among people. It wants to reach out to the masses, telling them what is right and what is wrong. So, purpose is basically creating awareness about certain social issues which has to be addressed. And reaching out to masses could be easily done with advertising. Next feature is an area coverage. It is, you use advertising when you want a mass scale happening, something in mass scale happening. If you have to reach out to a small group or very small target, you may not go in for advertising. But a pro bono advertising like a pulse polio drive targeted the entire country of India, and today we are called the so-called polio free nation of the world. So that type of a coverage is what advertising of social use does. Target audience. You are not selecting a particular group, but you are selecting all the members of society. When you are doing a social advertising, the entire mindset of the society is being changed, or you're targeting them. The type of advertising that we have, or the copy that is used, the words that is used in advertising are hard sell. When I say hard sell, it means it is very rational. You can question why. Why do I need a shauchalaya? Because it is directly going to have an impact on the health and hygiene of the people. Why do I not have to take tobacco or alcohol? Because it is harmful. It is going to have a very bad impact. So type of copy is always a hard sell copy. Personalities are used for pro bono because when you give advice to people one to one, people don't like. Imagine having something on the media advising people, they will not even pay heed to it. So if you take a personality, it works in a big way, and that's how even that pulse polio thing worked for our country. Next is the media used. So far, social media, yes, can be targeted, but mostly it is the print and broadcasting media that is being heavily used for pro bono advertising. Let's understand. Let us continue with what we left with, understanding how government undertakes a lot of social advertising. So different ministries and different directorates, everyone wants to work according to the constitutions and directive principles issued. So a lot of communication to the masses would be required. So one nodal agency who will be taking whatever has to go to the masses from each ministry, each directorate, from the government, go through it and finalize what type of advertising or what special form of advertising would be needed. So, this particular part of the government, which takes care of all the publications or all the advertising that comes, publicity that happens from the government of India, is called the DAVP, or the Directorate of Advertising and Visual Publicity. It's a nodal ad agency of the government of India. So government ads, where you have the Ashok Stamba shown to you, Government of India undertaking or any other government advertising, it has to come from DAVP. So the full form is important for your objective questions. Now, DAVP is responsible for ads for public sector undertakings, so SBI ads have to be approved by DAVP and autonomous bodies also. So, if the National Commission for Women has to go in for some amount of advertising, it has to run through its ad from this nodal agency. It communicates important messages of the government bodies to the country's citizens. Now, why this nodal agency was formed is mass to reach the masses, we need to communicate, and this communication has to be perfect. So, checking what message has to go, whether there's going to be any negative impact about that message, etc., have to be monitored before it could go into the masses. So, thus, we say that uh, the DAVP would be responsible for all the communication of important messages from the government. It undertakes social awareness campaigns like Bharat Nirman, and because we've been talking a lot about Pulse Polio and Shauchalaya Act, all these awareness campaigns were put through from Bharat Nirman. Do not confuse yourself with political advertising and the DAVP. When government wants to communicate, it is through the DAVP. But if a particular political party wants to communicate, it has to be done through a different ad agency. It is not from DAVP. Plentiful benefits of social advertising. Social advertising creates awareness. We come to know certain things which we thought was not needed or it is unnecessarily, um, and we may change our behavior. So it is educating people and the masses on the whole. So all of us get to think during the pandemic, a lot of communication was happening, how to deal and how to treat the patients, etc. So a lot of awareness came up to it, because otherwise we did not even know that it's a pandemic. Social development can happen when people's mindset change, people's behavior change, people live a healthy life, economically productive, and there's an improvisation of the standard of living, more awareness, better health facilities, hygiene being maintained. Definitely our standard of living will also be better. Coming to the next part, that is uh, ASCII. Now, because we've been through with a lot of social advertising and we saw a lot of positive impact and negative impact of advertising, studying ASCII becomes important. ASCII is another regulatory body which is formed in our country in 1985. It is called the Advertising Standard Council of India. It's a self-regulatory body. Let's understand what self-regulatory body. See, anything for regulation which comes from the government or an external agency are called as state regulation. You have to follow certain rules. But whenever state puts certain rules, the rebel nature that human beings have, or the feeling that I don't want to follow, it is not applicable to me, this is bad, etc., this type of thoughts come up, and following everyone do not follow these rules. But when it comes from within us, that yes, we need to follow certain do's and don'ts or certain code of conduct, we follow them better. That is called self regulatory. So Advertising Standard Council was formed with advertisers, people who were the businessmen who were putting in a lot of ads, ad agency owners, media people, creative directors, and PR agencies who were handling public relations for the companies. They all came together and they decided, yes, it's a moral responsibility of all of us to ensure that what we communicate to the masses is good and it is not having a negative impact. Okay, so it's a not for profit company. It's an organization, it's an association. Okay, it's a council, so it's not a company. It codifies self-regulatory norms to ensure protections of consumer interests. Codifies means it has written down certain do's and don'ts, and if you do not follow the members, first of all, you have to get membership, and those advertisers who are members and do not follow, some amount of penalty is charged. Ad agencies who do not follow, they get blacklisted, and the advertiser cannot sell in the market, the ad agency cannot do business, the media is blacklisted, they go off, and PR agencies also are sent away from not working, not allowed to work in the market, etc. So they make their codes and they communicate it to all their members and would encourage all businessmen, small and big, all ad agencies, small and big, media, small and big, to come and be a part of this council. And by doing so, it is maintaining and enhancing the public's confidence in advertising. To a lot of extent, today advertising is much better than what it was 20, 25 years back now, because public's confidence has increased. So that is what ASCA is all about. Now, when we say objectives of ASCA, there are plentiful objectives which is there in your textbooks, and role of ASCA. Role of ASCA are also the importance of ASCA that we are talking about. And that's all about module 3 from my end.